All right, everyone. So it's 9:15, and we're looking at a pretty dismal gap scanner again this morning. I'm already down $8,000 to add to the $38,000 I lost yesterday. So I'm in, I'm on this pullback right now. This is where I'm at in my account right now. The all-time high, this is an all-time high, but I can go up here. So, well, it doesn't really matter. In any case, I'm off about 100,000 off my peak here. So from 4.4 in the last year or so to 4.3, and it's definitely taxing, emotionally taxing, just to continue to see the chop. I jumped in MMB at 250. There was news that came out, jumped in it, popped up to 295, dropped down to $2, took the $8,000 loss, and that was my one trade. So I wasn't profitable on that one. And when we look at the gap scanner this morning, we don't have anything. XCLA is only 26%. VCNX is only 25%, BBIG is only 19%, ATNF is 16%. Going from the top, float's too high on WEI. This is appears as a gapper, but it's a reverse split. It's actually selling off. 70 million share float. XCLA is too cheap at 70 cents. VCNX is too cheap for me at $1.27. BBIG is 129 million share float, no interest. ATNF, 30 million share float, no interest, no volume. MITQ is too cheap. JKS is too expensive and the float's too high. IMCR doesn't have enough volume. SDIG, 19 million share float, no volume. So we've got nothing. We've got nothing this morning that looks good. And the one that popped up with news ended up reversing. And, this was authorization with Amazon. I mean, I thought that this was worth taking a stab on, but you know how it goes. In a cold market, even decent headlines do nothing. In a hot market, sometimes stocks don't even have news and they end up making huge moves. So it's frustrating. For those that want to look at the P&L on the month, this is where I was at. I made 100,000 this month, and then in the last 2 weeks have given it back, but I'm down 8,000 today. So now red on the month. This would be my first red month since, let's see. That's January 2020. No red months in 2020, although I had two. Well, actually, that's not true, because let's look at net profit. Net after fees and commissions, 2020 was red in November. So my last red month was November of 2020. $2021 was slow in April, but no red months. Now we still have, let's see. Well, today, three more days, not including today, 4 more days left in the month. So still have a chance to finish the month flat, but it just is, it's just about being patient. So there's $11 million in gross profit, trading predominantly to the long side, but there are going to be periods where it's slow. And that's what we're in right now, a slow period. And it's slow whether you're long or slow whether you're short. Because if you're a short seller, your leading gapper's 26%. We don't have a lot of volatility. It's as simple as that. We all profit from volatility, whether you're long or whether you're short. We need volatility. If we don't have volatility, there's nothing we can do because nothing's moving. That's the problem. So yeah, it's difficult to have the patience to sit on the sidelines. I'm down a bit more today than I was wanting to be. So, that's not ideal. We'll have to, at this point, just reduce share size and try to just, stay in the trenches until things open up. And the sector-wide or market-wide volatility, you have volatility on individual names on the large cap side, but I'm not a large cap trader. These require significantly larger amounts of buying power to trade. You're competing against high frequency traders, algos in a much more serious way. This is where you're going to have the best algos, the best proprietary trading systems trading these types of stocks. There's a lot of potential in them, but it makes them very difficult on average days. So my P&L for the last couple of weeks here, let's see, pull it back up. So this is the last 30 days. So, up about 350,000 and then now at 250. VVOS, let me take a look. So I know what I'm looking for, but I'm just not seeing it right now. VVOS, I'm gonna check the float first. Float is 18 million shares. $200 moving average is at 428. It's an interesting idea, but it doesn't have much volume. Yeah, Michael, and that may be the case. Of course, initially we look at the rate of change, and if something is moving quickly, then that's what I look at. I probably am I have been taking too much risk in this market. I have been, and that's something that I'm not good at, is taking the risk off when the market is not hot. I'm really not good at that. That's like my biggest weak point, I would say. So, I dig myself a hole when the market is cold, when I really should just be sitting on my hands and not trading. And then when the market heats back up, the first few days, the first week, whatever, are recouping losses from the cold stretch. So this is a perfectly reasonable time to put myself into some type of modified trader rehab program, just based on the month, because the month in a more narrow view, not great, right? So this is not a good month for me. It hasn't been a good month. It's the worst month I've had since November of 2020. So over a year. So if I was going to put myself into trader rehab, what would that look like? Well, today on MMMB, I took 24,000 shares and ended up losing like 50 cents a share. So if I had just taken maybe 6,000 or 10,000, the loss would have been a quarter as big or maybe half as big, right? So just reducing share size would be one starting point. So I could put my max share size for the rest of the day, let's say at 10,000 shares. And that would reduce it. It'll also reduce the gains on trades that work. But, right now we haven't been seeing a lot of trades work. So until we start seeing things work, smaller share size makes sense. So that would be the first. And then trading just a bit less. So right now, for instance, I've already broken the ice with the first trade. Right? I've broken the ice with the first trade. And so, it's easy to go and take trade 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm already red. So what's the difference between being down 8 or being down 12? You start to justify, well, I'll just keep trading because I'm red. So what the heck? Being down an extra couple thousand doesn't make a big difference. So being more careful about that first trade of breaking the ice is probably better. Just waiting for something to prove itself. So MMMB, I felt like this was proving itself because of the fact that it spiked from $1.80 to $2.50, right? So that was like, okay, it is proving itself, but that wasn't enough. So that means rather than buying micro pullbacks around $0.50 and whole dollars, waiting for the first proper 1 minute or even 5 minute pullback. Now we know in a hot market, if you wait for the first proper 5 minute pullback, you could miss a 2-3 point move. So you can't do that in a hot market, in my opinion. You can maybe wait for a 1 minute pullback, but you can't wait for a 5 minute. But in a colder market, maybe that does make more sense, just to wait for that clearer pattern. SRRA is the one that I lost 27,000 on this one yesterday. It was on this candle right here, a break of VWAP, and then a huge rejection all the way back down from 22 to 25, and then all the way back down to 22. So, yep, highest volume of the day, red candle. Super disappointing. Squeezed into a halt, reversed all the way back down. Surprised it didn't halt back down. Microsoft. Yeah, it's a gapper, but IMTE, this one we were watching. We've got about 90 seconds to the bell, but I've really got nothing that I'm watching into the open. We don't have anything that looks good. We don't have a leading gapper. TWAC daily chart. Thank you guys who are tuning in on YouTube. Appreciate it. Hope you hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the broadcast. I'm not streaming later into the days right now because there's just nothing really to cover. There's nothing really to talk about. Nothing trading. Nothing looking good. When we start to get some serious momentum, I'm happy to give you guys on YouTube a little bit more content. But right now, there's just nothing to talk about. High was 510 on this one. It's easy to borrow. Not sure what the float is. 21 million shares. But, even if you were like, oh, I'm going to short this. Well, I mean, you've only got like a 15-cent range. It just doesn't have enough range. So morning show will be back tomorrow, 9:15 as always. And a reminder for traders, trading is risky. Most beginner traders lose money, and my results are not typical. Even though I've been red the last 2 weeks, as you saw from my P&L, I'm certainly in really good shape, big picture. So it's important to keep that in perspective, that my results are not typical.